Hello, this is Yaakov Cronenberg. Excuse me. Yes, this is Yaakov Cronenberg, and tonight we're going to be doing an astrology class. I haven't been doing much astrology lately, classes in it, because I guess I'm more interested in Kabbalah. Uh, um, it's interesting when I first started. Well, I learned astrology many years ago from an old Jewish man. And when I came to Israel, I wanted to learn astrology here, the Jewish tradition in astrology. And I ended up for a while in a Kabbalah yeshiva in Jerusalem. And the rabbi there, he was known to be a big astrologer too. He had studied astrology with in Afghanistan, a Jewish rabbi from Afghanistan. He was the chief rabbi of the Afghani Jews in Jerusalem. And so he had learned astrology from him. The rabbi's name was Rav Barzani, I remember that. And so this rabbi, the Talmidim in the yeshiva, knew that he had learned astrology, and all the time we wanted to get him to teach us astrology besides Kabbalah, and he always refused, and he said, I can't teach you astrology, it's not for you. And then finally one day, the Talmudim were really pressuring him, and he said, look, I'm going to tell you the truth. I can't teach you astrology. Why? Because if I teach you astrology, you're not going to want to learn Kabbalah anymore. You're just going to want to learn astrology. So astrology is really interesting. Me, I'm the other way around. Look, I like to learn Kabbalah, and it's hard to get me to do sometimes to do astrology. But I'm going to do a piece on astrology tonight that actually it's something I took from Rabbi Yisrael Salanta. And a lot of the stuff you read in Judaism and the Torah, you can find that it's really you can relate it back to astrology. Because astrology is like Kabbalah in the sense that Kabbalah has all of the Torahs embedded in it. And for someone who really knows astrology, the Jewish tradition in astrology, all of the Torah is also embedded in astrology. And so you can, if you really look hard in the Torah and know where to look, you can find all of astrology. In any case, though, so I want to talk tonight about the ascendant. Somebody wrote me a letter and they said, why do I place so much importance on the ascendant? Okay, that I think I've talked about in other places, but it'll be a lead-in for tonight's class. The ascendant, you have to understand, is the receiver. Like a person, everybody, see, there's too much emphasis, I think anyway, in the Western astrology world on what's coming down from above. In other words, we're getting the influence of the planets. But also, on the other hand, it's sort of how you receive the influence of the planets that can be very important. It's important how you receive the influence of the planets. And that's what the ascendant is. The ascendant is the place in the horoscope where you receive all the influences. In other words, you have a chart that has 12 houses, 10 planets. Some people use more than 10 planets. Some people use a few less. Indian astrologers don't use the modern planets. And there's super modern people that use all sorts of asteroids, and there's people that even use hypothetical planets, but in any case, all of that influence, all of those planets, all of their influences is taken and expresses itself through the ascendant. So if a person says a Capricorn, whatever influences there are in his chart or her chart, they're going to take it and use it in a Capricornian way. Another person, say, will be Piscean, so they're going to take all the influences in the chart and take them all and express it in a Piscean way. And so that's why the chart is, the ascendant is so important, because it's the receiver. And everything is based really on how you receive the chart. You know, the people don't live in a vacuum. People are influenced by the society they grew up in, by the type of education they had, who their parents were, who their teachers were, they religious, were they secular, which did they come from a rich Western country or a poor African country, or did they come from the Chinese? Everything is, all of these things to determine how a person receives the influences. So besides the fact of your ascendant, what it is, you're also influenced by many, many things which determine how you receive the influences and what you do with what you receive. In any case, so what I'm doing tonight is I want to expand a little that the ascendant, don't look at it in a vacuum. I want to include the fifth house. I want to say that really when you're analyzing the ascendant, you also have to include the fifth and the ninth houses. Why? Because because really a person is made up of three things. This is, I took this from Israel Salanta, big rabbi, great rabbi, the founder of the Musa movement. And he said like this, that there's three parts of the person, and this goes good with 1, 5, and 9. If you look closely, the first house is cardinal, right? If you look in Adam Arishon's chart or Chava's chart, right, it'll be either Aries on the ascendant or Libra on the ascendant. Either case, a movable, what do you call it? Cardinal sign, right? They're cardinal sign, they go forward. And that's really what a person is born with. The ascendant tells you what a person is born with and what stays with him his whole life. It's just like you're born with a name, and your name, you can't change your name. You can add names, but you can't change your original name, because that's who you are. The same thing, the ascendant is what you're born with, what the elements that you're born with in life, and that's what moves you forward. That's the cardinality of the ascendant. That's what moves you forward in a straight path to go forward. And now if you look at the fifth house is fixed, and it's the sign of the lion. Right? And the fifth house, I learned the fifth house is like, what do you call it in English? It's like what you get attached to. It's something that becomes part of you. It's like say somebody gets addicted, right? That would be a fifth house thing. And others, there's how people learn and what becomes part. What do they make part of them? It's like somebody smokes cigarettes. They start smoking cigarettes. They can't stop. It's an addiction. That's the fifth house. It's like a lion. It's what you acquire. It's like the acquired things that sort of become part of you. And so it's really important not to pick up things, acquired things that are not good for you, right? To become attached, because eventually they become like a lion. They take hold of you. They're fixed, and they grab a piece of you. You know, they like people who are obsessive. They get attached to certain ideas in their head, and they can't let them loose. The same thing, you acquire certain behavioral patterns that are not good. So that's the fifth house. So originally you have the ascendant, and that's fixed. They become fixed. It's in a fixed sign because they become part of you and attached to you, and it's very hard to get rid of them. And from there you learn the fifth house, how important it is to, you know, to take on good qualities, right? To take on, if you're going to become attached to things, attached to good things. You want to be attached to, say, people who are very high level, because from them you learn, from watching them and learning from them, you learn how to behave properly. And if you get yourself attached to, say, bad people, well, then you pick up bad characteristics. And so that's a house of where there's a lot of that you have to be really careful. And then there's the ninth house. The ninth house is the mind. It's the thoughts. It's what you learn. And that has, of course, a powerful influence on the person. And that's a movable sign. It's a movable sign to show you that you always have to really to be thinking. Right? You always have to be learning, because through that is how you grow. The fifth house, if you look at the symbol of the fifth house, it's an archer who's shooting an arrow going upwards. So there's this idea of that you always have to evolve through your evolution in life. The goal is to get to higher and higher level. The ninth house is a house of spirituality, and it's as opposed, say, to the fifth, which is more pleasures. That's why you have to attach yourself to good pleasures and learn how to use the pleasures properly. But the ninth house is the house of religion, of higher thought, higher knowledge, travel. And so there, you want to have it in a movable sign so that you're always evolving, you're always thinking, you're always, a movable sign can see everything from all different angles. And so that's how a person grows. And so through his thoughts, through their thoughts, people grow. And so all three of them really work together. The ascendant is you. It's what you started out in life with. It's the basic element that gives you your name, and it sticks with you your whole life. And then you have the fifth house, which is the things you acquire in life, the characteristics you acquire, the habits. That's the word I was looking for. The house of habits. It's you pick up a habit, it's like you have a lion attached to you. You know, you're fighting a lion to get rid of it. Once you have a habit, then to get rid of it can be difficult. So you have to really be careful over there. And that's also part of your nature, right? That's why they're trying to each other. The 1, 5, and 9 are all in the same element. That's what they have in common. They say if you have a fire sign on the ascendant, like Adam is shown. So you have Aries on the ascendant, Leo fire on the fifth, and Sagittarius on the ninth house cusp, the other fire sign. What they have different is one is cardinal, the first, the fifth is fixed, and the ninth is mutable. So in that sense, they're all different because they all have a different function. And they're all equally important. That's why they're trying to each other. They all work together in a good chart. They all work together in a very harmonious type of way. And if you can integrate 1, 5, and 9, then it's a big thing in life. And I think for tonight that'll be. Maybe we'll delve more into this idea of 1, 5, and 9 in future classes, and what's the obstacles to 1, 5, and 9. What about the other houses? There's much to talk about, and I thank you for listening.